Days before the January 9 protests, an initiative was formed. Adopted from the Occupy Wall Street protest in New York, Occupy Nigeria was initiated. One aimed at gathering Nigerians from all walks of life to condemn what they say was behind the removal of fuel subsidy in the first place: corruption. So while labor unions rallied on the streets, the Occupy Nigeria group, made up of a coalition of civil society groups, polled large crowds at specific locations around the country to air their views. Simultaneously, with labor and trade unions from the first day, this multitude of Nigerians transformed this location, which used to be a beautification site, into a freedom park where all would gather henceforth to rally towards liberating the country from corruption and bad governance for good. And most importantly, a reversal to 65 naira or nothing else.
From 70,000 they increased to 250,000. How are we going to survive in Nigeria? Right now, fuel subsidy again. Everything is increasing. How are we going to live a peaceful life in Nigeria? We are tired!
It's day one on the nationwide strike by Nigerians and trade unions in protest of the hike in fuel price. But today, many here say it goes beyond just protesting the removal of fuel subsidy. They say it's time for a new government. They say it's time for a sincere government that will be truthful to Nigerians. I have here with me Dr. Tunji Abayomi, a human rights activist. Now, do I speak your mind when I say Nigerians are calling for much more than just removal of fuel subsidy?
Yes, that's in total agreement with the people. The fuel subsidy is just a fruit of a poisonous tree. The tree itself is poisonous in many regards. One, we don't have the constitution of the people. Secondly, we don't have a responsive government. Thirdly, we have an entirely corrupt administration in this country.
It's not about fuel subsidy. This is about going for the jugular vein. Corruption that has already paralyzed Nigeria. They stole our money. They need to account for it.
The fuel subsidy have not come up. We are still paying 30 naira for transportation, but now it has increased to 15 naira, 17 naira. And my daddy did not have any money to give me. He give me 100 naira. And me, if I enter bus 17 naira to school, how much down to spend the school? We close to the 30.
At least if we had a working electricity in our houses, we wouldn't be complaining about buying fuel or buying diesel to run our offices and houses.
No one knows how long this protest will last, but many confirm this is a gathering like never before seen. One they say is not likely to thin out as the days go by.
We are going to stand here and bring all our children down to this place, and we will bring our food supply and reside here forever.
Just as the young man said, the rally at the renamed Freedom Park grew with each passing day. The more the government tried to convince the populace on why they must accept the policy, the more the protesters showed how aware they were of the situation before them.
Removal of subsidy alone is automatically 1,000 increased devaluation of naira. That is what they call. That is to say, what we are using 50 naira to purchase, to buy as a good in the market now, is what 500 naira will be buying. What is the meaning of that? That is automatic devaluation of naira. And when naira is devalued, there is automatic an inflation in the country. And when there is inflation, we are already suffering from the excess of unemployment of a graduate.
We all know that the population of the country is about 150 million people. If you do the mathematics, by dividing that figure, you find out that what the government is giving us is actually less than 9,000 naira per month. Per year rather. By the time you further divide that figure, what individual is getting is actually less than 722 naira per month. When you further divide that figure to a daily basis, what the government has been giving us is 24 naira per day. And our government is saying they cannot afford to give every Nigerian 24 naira per day.
we need to check everything. How did we get to 1.3 trillion? The budget allocation was 260 billion. Why did nobody raise an alarm when it went to 520 billion? They say it's going to be better for us, but diesel has been deregulated for 5 years now. Nothing has been done. People just want value for governance. We want good governance. Nothing.
It is 65 or nothing.
It's not easy. What you are facing is
This protest continues, this strike continues, and until victory is won, there is no going back.
Now, fully aware of the usual trend where government, with the intention of hiking fuel price, would fix a highly unacceptable price, only to place it at its intended price after much agitations with labor unions, the demands began to shift. Demands which reverberated across the country. Demands the country would later learn were treasonable offences after the strike was suspended.
Of the rally by the Nigerian Labour Congress and members of the civil society groups. They are protesting the removal of fuel subsidy by the executive arm of government. Are you ready?
This is not a protest that is motivated by money. It is motivated by enthusiasm and...
It's day 3 of the protest against the removal of fuel subsidy by the federal government. Here at the Gani Fawehinmi Park at Ojota, the crowd has struggled. The number we see here today is 3 times the number we saw on the first day, judging by the magnitude of crowd we see here today. And the message remains the same. There is no going back until the government reverses the 65 naira per litre. But above that, the message, like it was on the first day, reverberates. The people are calling for much more.
The group was beginning to live up to its name. In different parts of Lagos and Nigeria, carnival-like rallies like this were replicated at various locations. Their demands the same.
Conflicts will only bring suffering and hunger. Africa for Africa. African leaders must bring us to the youth. And so we need to stand now for Nigeria. We need to occupy our fatherland and let them know that we say no to corruption, no to youth unemployment.
While the protesters hit the streets, the government hit television stations to continue with its campaigns. One of such was that the fuel subsidy removal would go a long way in frustrating the cabal siphoning Nigeria's funds and fuel outside the country. Again, the government's reasons were flawed, while the only palliatives of the government were also described as too little, too late. In fact, it seemed as if government utterances fueled the cause the protesters sought to achieve.
It's not just affecting transportation alone. It is affecting pure water, grinding pepper woman, farmer in the village, the fishermen. Now, my barber cut my hair for me at 200 naira before. I am cutting my hair 400 naira now.
Control the borders. You cannot stop smuggling. You cannot stop corruption, so to speak. Then what are you doing?
By this time, there was no denying the conviction felt amongst this crowd that victory was imminent. This conviction may have fueled the number which even on the 4th day was unprecedented. One of the factors which you may consider responsible for the confidence that grew as the strike progressed. Other factors that sustained the crowd must also be mentioned at this point. For the first time ever recorded, most Nigerians were more informed about the governance of the country than ever before.